back to our top story now. We're talking about the new police powers to sack rogue officers. And pleased to say we're joined this morning by the Police and Crime Minister Chris Philp. Good morning to you. Presumably you're hoping this will restore public trust in the police, which has been hugely harmed by the inability to root out these bad apples.
Yes, that's right. Of course, we should keep in mind that the vast majority of officers are brave and hard-working, but there have been some appalling cases, as you've said, in the last few years, where officers who, frankly, should not have been serving in uniform have not been removed quickly enough. And these reforms are designed to fix that. They will give chief constables more power to dismiss officers who should be removed. It'll make removal for gross misconduct automatic. It will make sure that specified criminal offences will automatically lead to misconduct, and it will streamline and speed up the process for removing officers either guilty of or accused of misconduct or indeed of poor performance as well. So taken together, these reforms will mean that where there is an officer who does not deserve to serve in uniform, then there will be nowhere for them to hide. And I think that will help, as you say, rebuild public confidence in policing.
Yeah, and not least, we've seen the number of dismissals half in the last year, down from 432 to 218. That being said, Police Federation, they're concerned about this. They think it could lead to kangaroo courts.
Well, I don't accept what the Police Federation have said about this at all. There will still be an independent panel assessing these cases. It will now be chaired by a senior police officer, because I think it's only right that if we're asking chief constables and senior officers to lead an organisation, they have more influence over who serves in that. But there will still be two independent members on that panel, one of whom will have to be legally qualified. So I don't accept even remotely the suggestion these are kangaroo courts. They're properly constituted, there's due process, but it does mean officers who don't deserve to serve in uniform will have nowhere to hide. But I would just like to stress again that the vast majority of officers are brave, dedicated and hard-working. We just need to make sure this tiny minority who have done bad things or have misbehaved are rooted out and there is nowhere for them to hide.
On the issue of sentencing, judges are to be given new powers to force people who've been convicted of horrendous crimes like Lucy Letby into the dock to make sure that they face up to their victims whilst their destiny is handed down. Labour were calling for this in April last year. They say you've been dragging your feet on it. What's taken so long?
Well, look, I think the Prime Minister has taken decisive action here, announced, as you say, yesterday. And it's not just the Lucy Letby case. The Prime Minister yesterday, I think, was sitting down with the mother of Olivia Pratt-Corbell, who was tragically murdered in Liverpool. And her murderer also refused to appear in the dock for the sentencing. It's happened a number of other times. And this reform will now give judges the power to order the use of reasonable force for these most serious offenders, where the maximum potential sentence is life, to appear in the dock to hear their sentence, or indeed to increase their sentence by up to 2 years if they refuse to appear. I think as a mark of respect to the victims, that is really important. These people should literally face justice in court and should not be allowed to hide in the cowardly way that some of these offenders have been doing.
I want to ask you about the Afghans that helped British forces and were invited to come to this country under Operation Pitting. They've been given until today to move out of the accommodation being provided for them. We understand that at least 3 of those hotels that they're moving out of will be to make space for people arriving in this country illegally through crossing the Channel. That can't be right, can it?
Well, the Afghan cohort that come over here, I think it's around about 25,000 people have been legally resettled in the UK from Afghanistan, many of whom, as you say, help British forces. That number for legal resettlement is higher, I think, than for any other European country. Many of those people have been in hotels for getting on for 2 years now, which is far too long. They're entitled to live and to work in the UK. They're entitled to receive benefits in the same way as other people who lawfully live in the UK. Of course, ideally they'll get into work, of course, whereas people who arrive on these small boats, which we're working to stop, of course, don't have the right to work and don't have the right to receive benefits either. So what we want to do is get the Afghans who have been moved over here into regular mainstream accommodation, regular mainstream work, and I think after 2 years it's reasonable that that gets done.
OK.
OK. Thank you, Minister. Thank you. We'll leave it there. Chris Philp, MP, and we'll be talking about a lot of the subjects raised with the Minister there in our newspaper review, which follows this.